Everything was going well. After meeting Arias in September 2006, Alexander thought that he had found the love of his life, but he had no idea about the reality of the woman he had fallen for. Soon, Arias became the reason for Alexander's brutal, horrifying death, leading to a lengthy court case that the entire world was hooked onto. Welcome back to True Crime Investigation. Before we move to the details of the case, we would like to offer our condolences to Alexander's family and friends who had to deal with his tragically untimely death. On July 28, 1977, in Riverside, California, Alexander was born to Gary David Alexander and Pamela Elizabeth Morgan Alexander. At the age of 8, Travis found himself under the care of his paternal grandparents. The family faced a tragic turn when his father passed away in July 1997, leading his 7 siblings to also find refuge with their paternal grandmother. Sharing with a friend, Alexander revealed that, before finding solace in a church, he used to get into frequent scuffles. Comedy was his outlet, performing stand-up under the alter ego Eddie Snell, while he pursued a career as a salesman and motivational speaker for prepaid legal services, PPL. Meanwhile, on July 9, 1980, in Salinas, California, Arias came into the world, born to William and Sandra Arias. She navigated through school until the 11th grade, deciding to part ways with Eureka Union High School. Arias, with aspirations in photography, took on various odd jobs before finding herself in a sales role at PPL. The paths of Arias and Alexander crossed in September 2006 at a work conference in Las Vegas, Nevada. The encounter between Alexander and Arias was said to be love at first sight. The two engaged in a profound conversation until the early hours of 4 a.m. Alexander, ecstatic, shared with friends the next day that he believed he had discovered his future wife. Intriguingly, Arias embraced the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the same faith Alexander adhered to, and he baptized her on November 26, 2006, in Southern California. Despite Arias residing in Palm Desert, California, and Alexander in Mesa, Arizona, their relationship flourished initially. The couple explored the Southwest together, but the idyllic facade began to crumble. Travis Alexander's initial joy was tinged with guilt, stemming from their premarital relations, a practice frowned upon by the Mormon Church. Reports revealed that Alexander occasionally projected his guilt onto Arias, referring to her as a slut in messages and emails. Moreover, signs of Arias's unsettling fixation on Alexander emerged. She listened to his conversations without him knowing, rifled through his emails and social media accounts, and even forwarded emails between Alexander and other women to herself. Alexander's friend, sky-loving Yair Hughes, expressed concerns about Arias's obsession, fearing for Alexander's safety. Despite Alexander's insistence on Arias's goodness, he eventually decided to end the relationship due to guilt over premarital sex. Strangely, they continued to see each other, exacerbating Arias's fixation. Following the breakup, her obsession intensified, leading to incidents like slashing Alexander's tires, hacking into his Facebook, and harassing women he dated. The relationship turned toxic, evidenced by texts and emails from May 2008, revealing a massive fight, during which Alexander labeled Arias a sociopath. Alarming statements from Alexander to friends hinted at the gravity of the situation, saying, "Don't be surprised if you find me dead one day." Unfortunately, that prediction eventually came true, leaving Travis Alexander's friends to grapple with the tragic outcome. In the tragic events of June 4, 2008, Alexander met his untimely death at his residence in Mesa, Arizona. Around June 9th, the concerns of Travis Alexander's friends grew as they hadn't heard from him in 5 days, an unusual silence considering their imminent trip to Cancun. A small group went to his house, where a chilling discovery awaited them: Alexander's lifeless and bloodied body in the shower. The 30-year-old had suffered a gunshot to the head, endured 27 stab wounds, and had his throat cut. The crime scene also revealed long brown hairs, a digital camera tossed into the washing machine, and a disturbing bloody handprint on the wall. Further investigation revealed a series of perplexing events. On the evening of June 4th, Alexander missed a crucial conference call. The next day, Arias met Ryan Burns in West Jordan, a suburb of Salt Lake City, and engaged in business meetings related to the conference. Burns noticed significant changes in Arias's appearance, with her once blonde hair now dyed dark brown and visible cuts on her hands. On June 6th, Arias embarked on a journey westward to California, making multiple attempts to contact Alexander, even leaving voicemail messages and accessing his cell phone voicemail system. Upon returning the rental car on June 7th, which had covered approximately 2,800 miles, suspicions arose. The vehicle showed signs of red stains on its seats and floor mats were missing, although these details couldn't be definitively linked to Arias due to cleaning before police examination. Concerns deepened when, on June 9th, friends, unable to reach Alexander, visited his home. Discovering pools of blood in the hallway and Alexander's lifeless body in the shower, they contacted 911. Notably, the friends, unaware of the jury's ears, shared suspicions during the call, referencing Arias as a potential suspect. They disclosed Alexander's claims of being stalked by Arias, who allegedly accessed his Facebook account and vandalized his car. The investigation was now delving into a complex web of events, slowly unraveling the layers of this tragic incident. While scouring Alexander's residence, law enforcement stumbled upon his recently purchased digital camera, carelessly tossed into the washing machine and damaged. Despite the apparent attempt to erase traces, the police managed to recover deleted images portraying Arias and Alexander engaged in sexually suggestive poses. Around 1:40 p.m. on June 4th, the final photograph of Alexander, captured alive in the shower, marked 5:29 p.m. that day. Subsequent images revealed an individual, likely Alexander, in a state of profuse bleeding on the bathroom floor moments later. The investigation also uncovered a bloody palm print along the wall in the bathroom hallway, proving to be a crucial piece of evidence as it contained DNA from both Arias and Alexander. On July 9, 2008, Arias faced indictment by a grand jury in Maricopa County, Arizona, charged with the first-degree murder of Alexander. 6 days following the indictment, Arias found herself arrested at her residence, eventually being extradited to Arizona on September 5th. Pleading not guilty on September 11th, she embarked on a journey of shifting narratives regarding her involvement in Alexander's demise. Initially, she claimed innocence, asserting she hadn't been in Mesa on the day of the murder, last encountering Alexander in March 2008. Later, Arias pivoted her account, introducing a tale of two intruders breaking into Alexander's home, perpetrating the murder, and assaulting her. 2 years after her arrest, a new version surfaced, with Arias confessing to killing Alexander in self-defense, framing herself as a victim of domestic violence. The evolving narrative added layers of complexity to the case, leaving investigators to untangle a web of conflicting stories and elusive truths. On April 6, 2009, the plea to reconsider the defendant's motion, aiming to disqualify the Maricopa County District Attorney's Office, faced denial. Later, on May 18th, the court made Arias undergo IQ and competency testing. The legal battle unfolded as, in January 2011, Arias's defense team diligently pursued the acquisition of text messages and emails crucial to the case. Initially, the prosecution claimed that no such messages from Alexander were accessible, only to be later directed to furnish several hundred of them. Mesa Police Detective Flores assured defense attorneys of the mundane nature of Alexander's emails, with around 8,000 being handed over in June 2009. As the trial began in Maricopa County Superior Court under the oversight of Judge Sherry K. Stevens, the intricate process of jury selection commenced on December 10, 2012. Subsequently, on December 20th, Arias's legal representatives contended that the prosecution was systematically excluding women and black individuals from the jury. Prosecutor Juan Martinez countered, asserting that race and sex played no role in his decisions to strike certain jurors. Judge Stevens, after careful consideration, ruled that the prosecution demonstrated no bias in the selection of the jury. In the initial statements presented on January 2, 2013, The prosecution painted Arias as a person consumed by jealousy, alleging that she assaulted Alexander, described as a good man, when he sought to terminate their relationship. Conversely, Arias's defense argued that Alexander had been aggressive and abusive, contending that she acted in self-defense as he lunged at her in anger. The prosecution posited that Arias meticulously planned the murder, suggesting she orchestrated a fake robbery at her grandparents' residence, where she stayed, to acquire a handgun for Alexander's killing. A police detective involved in investigating the alleged robbery testified that the caliber of the gun matched the one used in Alexander's shooting. The prosecution asserted that Arias strategically used a gas can and pre-purchased gas to conceal her journey to Alexander's location. They brought in Ryan Burns as a witness, who attested that Arias seemed normal when she visited him the day after Alexander's death. Burns relayed Arias's claim of injuring her hands at a non-existent restaurant called Margaritaville, a statement later contradicted by a detective. The prosecution concluded its case with a contentious moment, challenging a witness defending Arias by revealing explicit photos. Taking the stand on February 4, 2013, Arias entered an extensive 18-day testimony, a very unusual duration. During her testimony, Arias delved into her history of parental abuse and disclosed intimate details of her relationship with Alexander. A phone sex tape surfaced in court, featuring Alexander expressing explicit desires, and Arias responding in kind. Arias claimed Alexander had pedophilic inclinations, asserting her attempt to assist him with those urges. She depicted an increasingly abusive relationship, recounting an incident where she suffered physical harm, visibly showing her crooked ring finger in court. Arias maintained she acted in self-defense, asserting that she killed Alexander when he attacked her after she dropped his camera, necessitating her fight for survival. Alice Laviolette, a psychotherapist specializing in domestic violence, took the stand as a defense witness, asserting that Arias had been a victim of domestic abuse, a situation often concealed due to feelings of shame and humiliation. Laviolette referenced emails exchanged between Alexander and friends Chris and Sky Hughes, aiming to introduce them as evidence but facing rejection by the trial judge, who deemed them hearsay. The emails, revealed in a 2011 court filing, unveiled Alexander's anger toward the Hughes for discouraging Arias from pursuing a romantic relationship. Chris Hughes expressed concern that Arias could be Alexander's next victim, to which Alexander reportedly admitted being somewhat of a sociopath. During the trial, Hughes claimed manipulation by Arias, disclosing a falling out after catching her eavesdropping on their conversations with Alexander. In rebuttal, the prosecution presented witnesses, including Alexander's other girlfriends, who refuted claims of anger or violence. Starting on March 14th, psychologist Richard Samuels, a defense witness, testified for nearly 6 days. He proposed that Arias, undergoing acute stress during the murder, entered a fight-or-flight mode, hindering memory retention. When questioned about the possibility of premeditation, Samuels deemed it possible but improbable. He diagnosed Arias with post-traumatic stress disorder. Prosecutor Martinez challenged Samuels' credibility, alleging bias and a relationship with Arias. The Arizona Court of Appeals criticized Martinez's approach as improper. In response, prosecution witness Janine DeMarte, a clinical psychologist, contradicted the abuse and PTSD claims, diagnosing Arias with borderline personality disorder. The defense, in turn, brought in psychologist Robert Geffner, who argued Arias had an anxiety disorder from trauma, suggesting a different diagnostic tool. The prosecution's final rebuttal came from forensic neuropsychologist Jill Hayes, countering Geffner's assertion about the diagnostic suitability of the MMPI test for borderline personality disorder. The courtroom drama unfolded with conflicting expert testimonies, shaping the narrative and adding layers of complexity to Arias's psychological state during the alleged crime. During the final statements, Martinez portrayed Arias as a master manipulator and accused her of being a deceitful liar. He highlighted a text from Alexander, referring to Arias as evil, showcased unsettling crime scene photos once again, and asserted that Arias had attempted to influence the jury. In response, Arias's defense urged the jury to set aside any personal biases against her. They challenged the prosecution's premeditation theory, claiming Arias's actions, such as being captured on security cameras, keeping gas can receipts, and spending the night at Alexander's before the crime, contradicted the idea of a secretive mission. In his rebuttal, Martinez underscored the severity and diversity of Alexander's wounds, labeling the incident as nothing short of a slaughter. Throughout the trial, 3 jurors were dismissed, one for misconduct, another for health reasons, and a third following a DUI arrest. As the arguments concluded, jurors were instructed that a guilty verdict could be reached if each individually believed Arias had premeditated the murder or caused death during the commission of a felony. After 15 hours of deliberation on May 8, 2013, Arias was convicted of first-degree murder. All 12 jurors unanimously found her guilty of first-degree premeditated murder, with 7 determining her guilt in the felony murder charge. As the verdict echoed in the courtroom, Alexander's family displayed relief with smiles and hugs, while outside, crowds erupted in cheers and chants. The trial's gripping climax marked the culmination of a tense legal battle that had captivated public attention. But the trial wasn't done just yet. After the conviction, the prosecution had the task of persuading the jury that the murder met the criteria of being cruel, heinous, or depraved for Arias to be considered eligible for the death penalty. The aggravation phase kicked off on May 15, 2013, featuring the medical examiner who conducted Alexander's autopsy as the sole witness. Despite Arias's defense team expressing a desire to step down, they delivered brief opening statements and closing arguments, suggesting that the adrenaline in Alexander's body might have dulled the pain during his death. Prosecutor Martinez, aiming to emphasize the brutality, presented photos of the crime scene and the deceased, followed by a 2-minute silence to illustrate the purported duration of Alexander's demise. In less than 3 hours, the jury concluded that Arias met the criteria for the death penalty. Moving into the penalty phase on May 16, 2013, prosecutors called upon Alexander's family members to share victim impact statements, seeking to convince the jury that Arias's actions warranted a death sentence. On May 24, Arias delivered an allocution pleading for a life sentence. Contrary to her previous statements favoring the death penalty, she cited a shift in perspective, expressing remorse and a desire to spare her family further anguish. Arias even presented a survivor T-shirt, vowing to sell it for the benefit of domestic abuse victims, along with a commitment to donate her hair to Locks of Love. In the next jailhouse interview, she admitted uncertainty about the jury's decision, acknowledging the surreal feeling and a sense of betrayal. The sentencing phase, which ended on May 23rd, resulted in a hung jury, leading the judge to declare a mistrial. The jury, torn with an 8-4 decision in favor of the death penalty, expressed exhaustion and horror at the outcome. Jury foreman Zervakos conveyed the overwhelming burden they felt during the process and their disappointment in the mistrial. As uncertainties loomed about the possibility of a retrial, Prosecutor Montgomery expressed confidence in seating an impartial jury, while the defense emphasized their reluctance to resolve the case without addressing Arias's mental health and lack of criminal history. Arias herself, despite maintaining faith in the justice system, questioned the feasibility of seating an unbiased jury given the extensive trial coverage. Throughout the trial, the defense team made multiple mistrial requests in January, April, and May 2013. In the January plea, Arias's lawyers contended that Esteban Flores, the principal detective from Mesa Police, committed perjury during a 2009 pre-trial hearing. The argument centered on Flores asserting that, based on his investigation and discussions with the medical examiner, Alexander had been shot in the forehead first. However, during trial testimony, the medical examiner contradicted this, suggesting the gunshot would likely have incapacitated Alexander due to extensive defensive wounds, including stab marks and slashes. Flores insisted he misunderstood the medical examiner's information and denied perjury. On May 20, 2013, the defense filed a motion reporting that a witness scheduled to testify for Arias had received death threats, leading her to withdraw from testifying. The motion highlighted a pattern of threats, referencing similar incidents involving Alice Laviolette. Despite the motion, the court denied it, along with a request for a stay in proceedings to appeal decisions to the Arizona Supreme Court. By May 29, 2013, the Arizona Supreme Court declined to hear an appeal filed 3 months prior, a decision consistent with the rejection from the mid-level Arizona Court of Appeals. The appeal sought to challenge the aggravating factor of cruelty. The contention revolved around a change in the theory of the murder occurrence. Initially, the lead detective asserted the gunshot happened first, supporting the finding of cruelty. However, later in the proceedings, the medical examiner testified that the gunshot occurred post-mortem, prompting NERMI to challenge the basis for the cruelty aggravating factor. Commencing on October 21, 2014, the retrial for Arias's sentencing unfolded, featuring opening statements and an evidence hearing. Amanda Webb, a prosecution witness from the initial trial, raised uncertainties about the record's transfer after Walmart's relocation, challenging Arias's claim of returning a gas can on May 8, 2007. The retrial resumed in January 2015, with Mesa police experts revealing discrepancies in Alexander's laptop, contrary to the 2013 trial testimony. The jury entered deliberations on February 12, 2015. Mistrial. Despite initial denial, Stevens later declared a mistrial on March 5, 2015, as the jurors remained deadlocked at 11-1 in favor of the death penalty. Attempts by 11 jurors to remove the holdout, alleging bias, were unsuccessful. Post-mistrial, the holdout juror faced threats. Dennis Elias, a jury consultant, condemned the attacks, and Maricopa County Attorney Bill Montgomery called for their cessation. Sentencing, scheduled for April 7, 2015, gave Stevens the choice between life imprisonment without parole or parole eligibility after 25 years. On April 13th, Stevens sentenced Arias to life without parole. The trial's cost reached an estimated $3 million by March 5, 2015. In June 2015, a restitution hearing ordered Arias to pay over $32,000 to Alexander's siblings, a third of the requested amount. Currently housed at Arizona State Prison Complex, Perryville, Arias, as of 2023, resides in the medium security level after beginning in the maximum security Lumley unit. But things didn't stop there. A post-verdict appeal unfolded, initiated by Arias's attorneys Margaret M. Green and Corey Engel on July 6, 2018. They sought to overturn the murder conviction, arguing prosecutorial misconduct by Martinez. On March 24, 2020, despite acknowledging the prosecutor's egregious behavior, the Court of Appeals upheld Arias's conviction, emphasizing the overwhelming evidence of her guilt. In the widely covered Jodi Arias trial, a significant turn of events took place when the Arizona Court of Appeals, comprised of a 3-judge panel, decided to open up testimony to the public. This ruling overturned Judge Sherry Stevens' initial decision, which had allowed a witness to testify in private during the jurors' deliberation on the death penalty for Arias. Despite this legal shift, the identity of a mysterious defense witness who testified at the onset of the defense case remained shrouded in secrecy. The media frenzy surrounding the trial reached unprecedented levels. Described as a circus and a runaway train by the Associated Press, the case captured global attention, turning into a sensation, followed by thousands through live web feeds. The courtroom itself transformed into a spectacle, drawing enthusiasts daily as they vied for limited public seats. The Toronto Star remarked on the amalgamation of jealousy, religion, murder, and sex, illustrating the transformation of the justice system into entertainment. Throughout the trial, public figures did not shy away from expressing their opinions. Governor Jan Brewer believed Arias to be guilty, while jury foreman William Zervakos, post-trial, criticized Arias's lengthy testimony, asserting that it had weakened her defense. The media landscape played a pivotal role, with HLN boasting about its ratings during critical trial moments. Social media became an integral part of the narrative, with Arias's own artwork being sold on eBay by her brother to cover family expenses. However, the online environment turned hostile during the testimony of defense witness Alice Laviolette. leading to severe criticism and threats against her. The trial's conclusion, sentencing Arias to life imprisonment without parole, marked the end of a legal saga that had gripped the nation. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe to not miss our next cases, and we'll see you in the next video.